Hey drone flying YouTubers, we're going to be looking at how to get that nice smooth video look to our drone video. If you've seen high shutter speeds in 25 frames per second, you'll see that it kind of creates a jittery look. It's not very smooth at all. We're going to avoid that by using slower shutter speeds, which are done by using neutral density filters. I want to get that also the exposure fitting nicely for white surfaces here, which would be waves and sky. So we're going to set our manual lock-in white balance. We're going to go for 4K video, and I'm going to be using Polar Pro neutral density filters bought on Amazon. You can get different sizes here. It's sometimes hard to tell which one to get. There's 4, 8, and 16 in my set. I'm going to be using the 8. You unscrew the UV filter that comes on the camera and replace it with the neutral density filter. Shutter speeds to get the best smooth video should be twice the speed of the frame rate. So 25 frames per second is a 50th of a second. To get that, you're going to have to bring that ISO way down. That's the only way to really control for that. And the zebra banding in the display on the DJI app shows where the exposure is overblown. And as I say, I want to expose for that sky, not necessarily the foreground. So I'm going to have to pick a lower ISO to try to get that, get rid of those zebra lines. It'll look a little bit dark at first, but I can bring some of those shadows back later in post-production video editing software. So let's fly that air out there. It's a great little flyer, even in a bit of a breeze. And I'm at 25 frames per second with a neutral density filter of 8. It's a bit of a guess, and unfortunately I should have used the 16 because my shutter speed is 120th of a second. Ideally it would have been 50th or 60th of a second, but you can see it's pretty good video. It's nice, and the exposing of the sky and the waves, I'm not losing any detail being blown out. If we go to 120 frames per second in high def 1920 by 1080p, it's a beautiful look, and I get to use 240th of a second at a slightly higher ISO. So it really works out nicely in terms of frame rate compared to the frames per second. So let's try the Mini2 in here. So we'll need to buy those neutral density filters. These Sunny Life filters, there's many kinds that have different names. I think they're all manufactured by the same manufacturer, and they just clip over the camera. They don't actually screw onto it. Very light, they only weigh about 1 gram. So they're quite amazing. I'm going to take a guess at neutral density 16 on this one here and send it out. There's a little bit of a funny brown tone to it. I'm not sure if that's the neutral density filter. You can see that compared to the Mavic, it's a little bit, colors are washed out, but I'm going to tweak that in software, Final Cut Pro later, to match the Mavic Air. So you can see that, in fact, I can fix that quite readily. The neutral density filter of 16 is still even not quite enough to get that slow rate down to, 60th of a second, but not bad. I can't really do slow motion on the Mavic Mini. The best I can do is 60 frames a second, but it does give me a chance to get 1/20th of a second exposure, and that'll help smooth the video down a little bit. You don't want to do any of this if you're just taking photographs. You want fast shutter rates for photographs, but for video you want a slower shutter rate, as I say, about twice the number of your frames per second. So you can see I've got now that nice sky being exposed properly, and the waves. I can bring up the shadow detail a little bit in post-processing, and it gives a nice cinematic feel, even though I don't have the nice super slow 120 frames per second that the Mavic Air has. So that's the secret. Good video. Neutral density filters and slow shutter speeds. Thanks for watching.